a remote mountain road, a wild Mustang foal standing in the middle of the pavement, and behavior that wilderness manager Rachel Stone had never witnessed in 15 years of working with wild horses. The young horse wasn't just standing on the road, it was actively blocking traffic, running at approaching vehicles, rearing up, refusing to move no matter how drivers honked or tried to go around it. Rachel had received 3 emergency calls in 20 minutes about an aggressive wild foal creating a dangerous situation on Forest Service Road 34. But when Rachel finally arrived and saw what the foal was standing in front of, what it was desperately trying to prevent people from reaching, her blood turned to ice. Because 50 feet ahead, hidden by a curve in the road, was something that would have killed anyone who drove past that foal. And this wild baby horse, probably only 6 months old, had figured out something that defied everything scientists thought they understood about animal intelligence. That sometimes, blocking the road isn't aggression. Sometimes, it's the only way to save lives. Subscribe now for true stories of animal intelligence that will change how you see the natural world. Rachel Stone's radio crackled with the 3rd call in 20 minutes. We have multiple reports of a wild horse foal blocking Forest Service Road 34, approximately 3 miles past the junction. Drivers are reporting the animal is behaving aggressively, charging at vehicles. We need someone to move it before there's an accident. Rachel grabbed her field vest and emergency equipment. Forest Service Road 34 was a narrow mountain road that served as the main access route to several popular trailheads and camping areas. On a Saturday in late September, it would be seeing moderate traffic, hikers heading home, campers coming in for the weekend. A wild foal blocking traffic was unusual and potentially dangerous both for the animal and for motorists. Copy that. I'm en route. ETA 15 minutes. Rachel had been a wilderness manager with the National Forest Service for 15 years, specializing in wildlife conflicts and wild horse management. She'd dealt with plenty of situations involving wild horses on roads, usually horses that had wandered onto pavement, looking for salt or mineral licks, occasionally aggressive stallions during breeding season. But a solitary foal blocking traffic? That was new. As she drove up the winding mountain road, Rachel mentally prepared her approach. Young foals rarely separated from their mothers. If this foal was alone and behaving aggressively, it was probably frightened, confused, possibly injured. She'd need to approach carefully, assess the situation, and either reunite the foal with its herd or, if necessary, call for wildlife veterinary support. Rachel rounded the final curve and saw the backup immediately. 4 vehicles were stopped in the road, 2 cars, a pickup truck, and an RV. And in front of them all, maybe 40 yards ahead, stood a young horse in the middle of the road. Rachel pulled over and approached the stopped vehicles. A man in his 50s leaned out of the lead car's window. "Thank God you're here. That horse has been blocking the road for at least 30 minutes. It won't move. We tried honking, we tried driving slowly toward it, but every time we get close, it runs at us. I'm worried it's going to get hit or cause someone to crash." "Has anyone gotten out and tried to approach on foot?" One guy did. The horse ran right at him, not attacking but definitely threatening. He jumped back in his car pretty quick. Rachel looked at the foal more carefully. It was a dark bay color, brown body with black mane, tail, and legs. Probably 6 or 7 months old based on size. The young horse was pacing back and forth across the road, clearly agitated, occasionally looking back at something further up the road, then returning its attention to the vehicles. "Okay. Everyone stay in your vehicles. I'm going to approach on foot and assess the situation." Rachel pulled on her reflective vest and grabbed a lead rope, probably useless for a wild foal, but protocol required it. She also pulled out her radio and her emergency air horn, which could be used to scare aggressive wildlife if necessary. As she walked toward the foal, Rachel spoke in low, calm tones. "Easy, baby. Easy. Nobody's going to hurt you. What's going on? Where's your mama?" The foal stopped pacing and turned to face Rachel. For a moment, they stood 50 feet apart, assessing each other. Rachel could see the young horse was trembling, sides heaving, clearly stressed, but not appearing injured. Its behavior was strange, the aggressive posturing toward vehicles, but now, facing a single human on foot, it seemed uncertain rather than threatening. Rachel took another step forward. The foal backed up but didn't charge. Another step. The foal whinnied, not an aggressive sound, but something almost desperate, pleading. "What's wrong, baby? What are you trying to tell us?" The foal took several steps backward, moving up the road, then stopped and looked back at Rachel. Then it returned, positioning itself again in the center of the road, blocking the path. The behavior was bizarre. Almost like the foal was trying to prevent Rachel from moving forward while simultaneously trying to show her something. Rachel's ranger instincts began tingling. This wasn't random behavior. This wasn't a confused or injured foal. This was purposeful. The young horse was blocking the road for a reason. Rachel keyed her radio. "I need everyone to stay back. Something's not right here. The foal isn't aggressive. It's trying to keep us from going forward. I'm going to investigate what's ahead." Rachel carefully moved to the side of the road, giving the foal a wide berth while advancing up the pavement. The young horse watched her intently, but didn't charge, didn't try to stop her. Instead, it followed at a distance, whinnying occasionally, its body language showing extreme anxiety. The road curved ahead, and Rachel couldn't see what was beyond the bend. She moved cautiously, her instincts screaming that danger lay ahead. The foal's behavior, its desperate blocking of traffic, its anxiety, it all pointed to something seriously wrong just out of sight. As Rachel rounded the curve, she saw it and her heart stopped. 50 feet ahead, the road surface had collapsed. A massive sinkhole, probably 20 feet across and impossibly deep, had opened up right in the middle of the road. The pavement edges were jagged, unstable, showing where the road had given way. If any of those vehicles had driven around that foal and reached this curve at normal speed, they would have plunged directly into the hole with no warning, no time to brake. But that wasn't the worst part. At the bottom of the sinkhole, approximately 30 feet down, Rachel could see a horse, an adult mare, lying on her side among rocks and debris, clearly injured, clearly in distress. The mare was alive. Rachel could see her moving slightly, but trapped at the bottom of a collapsed mine shaft or underground cavity. Rachel's hands started shaking as she processed what she was seeing. The foal hadn't been randomly blocking traffic. The foal had been preventing drivers from reaching this death trap in the road. That young horse had been standing guard, actively stopping vehicles, saving lives, for however long it had been since the mare fell through. And the mare was the foal's mother. That much was obvious from how the foal was now standing at the edge of the sinkhole, calling down desperately to the trapped horse below. Rachel grabbed her radio with trembling hands. "This is Stone. I need immediate assistance at my location. We have a major road hazard. Large sinkhole has opened up in the middle of Forest Service Road 34, approximately 3 miles past the junction. The hole is at least 20 feet across and 30 feet deep. We also have a wild horse trapped at the bottom, severely injured. I need road closure, emergency services, and large animal rescue immediately. This is critical. If that foal hadn't been blocking traffic, we'd be dealing with multiple vehicle accidents and probably fatalities. The response came back shocked. Rachel, did you say the Foal was blocking traffic to prevent accidents? Affirmative. The Foal has been standing guard over this sinkhole, keeping vehicles from driving into it. It's been protecting its mother and saving human lives simultaneously. Rachel approached the edge of the sinkhole carefully, testing the stability of the ground with each step. The hole appeared to be a collapsed mine shaft. This area had been heavily mined in the early 1900s, and there were documented old mines throughout the region, though most were supposed to be sealed or marked. Looking down, Rachel could see the mare more clearly. She was a beautiful buckskin, tan body with black mane, tail, and leg points. The same coloring as many of the horses in the Blacktail Ridge herd that ranged in this area. The mare was conscious, aware, but clearly in severe pain. One of her legs was bent at an unnatural angle, definitely broken. She had lacerations across her body from the fall and the sharp rocks. The mare looked up at Rachel and released a weak whinny. Her foal answered immediately from above, the sound desperate and heartbreaking. "I know, Mama," Rachel said softly. "I know your baby's been trying to get help. We're going to get you out. Just hang on." But even as Rachel said the words, her mind was racing through the logistical nightmare of this rescue. The hole was 30 feet deep with unstable sides. The mare was severely injured and probably weighed 900 to 1,000 pounds. Getting her out would require specialized equipment, expertise, and careful planning. And there was no guarantee the mare would survive even if they managed to extract her. Within 40 minutes, Forest Service Road 34 had been closed in both directions, and an emergency response team had assembled. The team included Rachel, 2 other rangers, 3 large animal rescue specialists, a wildlife veterinarian named Dr. James Park, a structural engineer to assess the sinkhole stability, and a technical rescue team from the county. Dr. Park rappelled down into the sinkhole first, secured by ropes, to assess the mare's condition. The foal watched the entire operation from above, still stationed near the hole, occasionally calling down to its mother. After 20 minutes, Dr. Park's voice came over the radio. "We have multiple fractures. Definitely the right front leg, possibly the pelvis, ribs. She has significant lacerations and is showing signs of shock and dehydration. Based on the amount of clotting and the condition of the wounds, I estimate she's been down here between 18 and 24 hours." Rachel felt sick. The mare had been trapped in this hole for nearly a day, and her foal had been standing guard above for that entire time, blocking traffic, preventing disaster, trying desperately to get help for its mother. "Prognosis?" Rachel asked into her radio. A long pause. "Not good. Even if we get her out successfully, the injuries are severe. The broken leg alone would be challenging to treat in a domestic horse with immediate veterinary intervention. For a wild horse after this much time with these additional injuries..." Dr. Park's voice trailed off. The structural engineer's report was equally grim. "The sinkhole is unstable. The surrounding ground could collapse further at any moment. We can attempt extraction, but it's high risk for everyone involved. If the ground gives way during the operation, we could lose rescue personnel." The team leader looked at Rachel. "We need to make a decision. Do we attempt the rescue, knowing the risks and the low probability of the mare's survival? Or do we consider humane euthanasia to end her suffering?" Rachel looked at the foal, still standing vigil, still refusing to leave its mother. That young horse had demonstrated problem-solving ability and intelligence far beyond what anyone thought foals were capable of. It had blocked a road to prevent accidents. It had maintained a protective position for hours. It had tried to communicate urgency to humans. "We try," Rachel said firmly. "That foal has been fighting for its mother's life for 24 hours. The least we can do is fight alongside it." The rescue operation took 3 hours. It was dangerous, complex, and required every ounce of expertise the team possessed. They had to stabilize the sinkhole walls to prevent further collapse. They had to sedate the mare carefully. Too little, and she'd struggle and injure herself more. Too much, and she might not survive the extraction. They had to construct a specialized sling that could support her weight without putting pressure on broken bones. They had to rig a pulley system capable of lifting 1,000 pounds vertically 30 feet through an unstable hole. Throughout the entire operation, the foal remained nearby, watching. Several times, rescue personnel tried to move the young horse away from the dangerous area, but it refused to leave. It stayed within sight of the operation, its attention never wavering from the hole where its mother was trapped. Finally, after hours of work, the mare was slowly, carefully lifted out of the sinkhole. The moment her body cleared the edge, the foal rushed forward, whinnying desperately, trying to reach her. "Hold the foal back!" someone shouted, but Rachel intervened. "Let them see each other," she said quietly. "That baby has earned this moment." The rescue team positioned the mare on a specialized transport platform, still in the sling, sedated but conscious. The foal approached carefully, touching its muzzle to its mother's face, nickering softly. The mare, despite her injuries and medication, responded, her ears flicking toward her baby's voice. Transporting a severely injured 1,000-pound wild horse 3 miles down a mountain road to where an emergency veterinary trailer waited was an operation in itself. The mare remained sedated, strapped securely to the transport platform, while the foal followed the slow-moving vehicle on foot, refusing to leave its mother's side. At the staging area, Dr. Park and his veterinary team worked for 2 hours, stabilizing the mare. The prognosis remained guarded. The broken leg required surgical pinning, an operation that would need to be performed at a full veterinary hospital. The other injuries were being cleaned and treated. The mare's vital signs were weak but stable. "The next 24 hours are critical," Dr. Park explained to Rachel. "We're transporting her to the large animal hospital in Bozeman. They have the facilities and surgical capability. But Rachel, you need to understand, even if the surgery is successful, recovery for a wild horse is incredibly difficult. Months of stall rest, physical therapy, careful management. And there's no guarantee she'll ever be able to return to the wild." "What about the foal?" "That's another problem. The foal is still nursing age, probably needs its mother for at least another 4 to 6 months. Separating them now could be devastating for the foal's survival. But we can't transport a wild foal to a veterinary hospital. It's against protocol, it's dangerous, and we don't have facilities for a wild foal's long-term care." Rachel looked at the young horse, now standing pressed against the fence of the temporary pen, where its mother was being treated. The foal's earlier desperation had transformed into exhausted vigilance. It was still watching, still guarding, but the frantic energy had been replaced by something else. Trust, maybe, or hope that the humans it had worked so hard to summon were now helping. "That foal saved lives today," Rachel said quietly. "Multiple lives. It figured out how to communicate an emergency to humans. It stood its ground for 24 hours, protecting its mother and preventing a catastrophe. We owe that animal more than protocol." Dr. Park smiled slightly. "What are you suggesting?" "I'm suggesting we find a way to keep them together. If that means bending rules, If that means creative solutions, then that's what we do. Over the next several hours, phone calls were made, strings were pulled, and exceptions were granted. The large animal hospital in Bozeman agreed to accommodate both mare and foal, an unprecedented arrangement, but the circumstances were extraordinary, and the story of the foal's heroic roadblock had already begun spreading through the wildlife management community. The transport took place that evening. The mare, stabilized and sedated, was loaded into a specialized equine ambulance. The foal, after some coaxing and clear understanding that this vehicle was taking it to its mother, also loaded, another behavior that defied expectations for a wild horse. Rachel followed the ambulance in her service vehicle, unable to shake the feeling that she'd witnessed something profound. She'd seen animals demonstrate problem-solving before, had documented clever behavior in wildlife. But this foal had demonstrated multi-step reasoning, had understood cause and effect, had made the connection between blocking vehicles and preventing disaster, had maintained that action for hours despite fear and exhaustion. It challenged everything. The surgery took place the next morning. Dr. Park and a specialist equine surgeon worked for 4 hours, pinning the mare's broken leg, repairing other damage, treating infections that had begun during her time in the sinkhole. The foal spent those 4 hours in an adjacent stall, calling periodically to its mother, clearly anxious but cooperative. When the mare came out of anesthesia, the first thing the veterinary team did was bring the foal into her recovery stall. The reunion was emotional even for the hardened professionals watching. The mare, despite being heavily medicated and in significant pain, immediately focused on her baby, nickering softly, allowing the foal to nurse, grooming it as best she could despite her restricted movement. "If anything will motivate her to survive this," Dr. Park said, "it's that foal." Over the following weeks, the mare, named Guardian by the hospital staff, defied the odds. The surgery was successful. The healing progressed better than expected. Most remarkably, she tolerated the stall rest and human handling with unusual patience for a wild horse, as if understanding that cooperation was necessary for survival. The foal, named Sentinel by Rachel and the rescue team, thrived alongside its mother. The young horse adapted to the temporary captive environment with surprising ease, though it remained wary of most humans, except for Rachel and Dr. Park, who visited weekly. 3 months after the rescue, Dr. Park called Rachel with an update. "Guardian is healing remarkably well. We're cautiously optimistic that with another 3 months of recovery, she could potentially be released back to the wild. The leg is healing straight, and she's beginning to bear weight on it. It's honestly miraculous." And Sentinel? Growing, healthy, thriving, still incredibly bonded with its mother, which is normal and good. "Rachel, we're going to need to make decisions about their future. Do we try to return them to the wild? Do we place them in a sanctuary? What gives them the best quality of life?" 6 months after the rescue, on a clear spring morning, Rachel stood in a meadow adjacent to Forest Service Road 34. The sinkhole had been properly filled and the road repaired. But more importantly, in the meadow stood Guardian and Sentinel, now almost a yearling, strong and confident. The Blacktail Ridge herd grazed in the distance. This was the moment of truth. Would the herd accept Guardian back? Would her foal integrate successfully? Guardian raised her head, scented the air, and released a loud whinny. From the herd, an answering call came. Several horses looked up, and then one, an older mare, began walking toward Guardian. Over the next hour, Rachel watched as the herd gradually accepted the returning pair. There were the usual equine greeting rituals, some posturing, some hierarchy reestablishment. But by afternoon, Guardian and Sentinel were grazing peacefully among their family, as if the 6-month absence had never happened. Rachel sat on the hood of her truck, watching through binoculars, tears streaming down her face. Against all odds, they'd made it. Both of them. Together. A year later, Rachel was conducting a routine survey when she encountered the Blacktail Ridge herd near the same area. Sentinel, now a healthy 2-year-old, grazed with the other young horses. Guardian, fully recovered, had even had another foal, a tiny buckskin baby that stayed glued to its mother's side. But it was what Rachel observed that afternoon that convinced her the events of that day had been real, had been as remarkable as they seemed. A section of Forest Service Road 34 runs through the herd's range, and occasionally horses cross it. Rachel watched as Sentinel approached the road, started to cross, then suddenly stopped. A vehicle was approaching in the distance. Sentinel didn't panic, didn't run. Instead, the young horse positioned itself at the road edge and waited, watching the vehicle pass safely before crossing. Then Sentinel looked toward where the old sinkhole had been, now just grass-covered ground, and seemed to pause as if remembering. Rachel had documented the entire incident in her reports, had testified to multiple wildlife management boards, had presented her findings at conferences. The scientific community's response had ranged from skeptical to amazed, but the physical evidence was undeniable. Traffic camera footage showed the foal blocking vehicles. Multiple witnesses confirmed the behavior. The mare's rescue from the sinkhole was documented in detail. The prevailing theory was that Sentinel had witnessed vehicles using the road regularly, had understood their potential danger when the mare fell through the pavement. The foal had made cognitive connections. Vehicles on road, hole in road. Vehicles must not reach hole. And then, remarkably, it had taken action to implement that understanding. It was evidence of advanced reasoning, problem-solving, and even empathy. The foal had been protecting just its mother, but also unknown humans from harm. Rachel's final report concluded, "This incident demonstrates cognitive abilities in wild horses far beyond what current research has documented. It suggests capacities for causal reasoning, future planning, and interspecies consideration that require us to fundamentally reconsider our understanding of equine intelligence." Guardian and Sentinel continue to thrive with the Blacktail Ridge herd today. The section of Forest Service Road 34, where the incident occurred, has been reinforced and thoroughly inspected for additional underground voids. A small memorial marker has been placed at the site, recognizing Sentinel's actions that prevented what could have been multiple traffic fatalities. Dr. James Park has published 3 papers on the case, which have become required reading in veterinary and animal behavior programs. Rachel Stone received the National Forest Service's recognition of valor and was promoted to Regional Wildlife Manager. The story has influenced policy changes regarding wild horse management and roadway safety inspections in former mining areas. If this incredible true story of animal intelligence, maternal bonds, and a foal's heroic decision to save both its mother and unknown humans moved you, please subscribe for more extraordinary animal stories. Hit that like button, share this video to spread awareness about wild horse cognition, and tell us in the comments, do you believe animals can understand cause and effect and plan actions to prevent future harm? Thanks for watching, and remember, sometimes what looks like aggression is actually protection. Sometimes the smallest guardian can save the most lives, And sometimes the wildest hearts understand more about danger and heroism than we ever imagined possible.